Welcome to Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. This podcast is about the journey to a more sustainable future in order for us to be able to do our bit to achieve net zero. I'll be discussing a variety of topics with experts in their field in order to educate and increase our knowledge of clean energy, electric vehicles and the electric vehicle infrastructure. So whether you're an individual wanting to make a difference at home, a small business or a corporate, this podcast is just for you. Okay, so on today's episode, I have got Michelle Miles, and she's head of Pro Green and group marketing, and you're part of the Pro Hire group, aren't you? We met in May, and this is madness because we've been trying to get this sorted for months now, haven't we? I'm so sorry. It's probably my fault.
No, two very, very busy ladies, I think. There's been a couple of times where I've been called away to a meeting that I need to jump in the car and get gone, and trying to do this kind of stuff in the car is just not possible at all. So
I know. Well, no, that would be a very interesting podcast, wouldn't it, really?
Yeah, I don't fancy my chances.
No, I don't either. I don't know whether it would be legal either. Would it
I
be
was about to say that's where I'm kind of sitting at the moment, so we would never do that.
Well, listen, nice to actually have you on this after such a long time. So thank you for joining me, Michelle.
No, thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about your background, because I thought you'd worked for Pro Hire for 10 years and it's 14. Oh my God, how could I get it 4 years wrong? So you've been working...
It feels longer than that as well, so...
Oh my God. So you previously you were group marketing manager and customer relations manager, weren't you?
Yeah.
Will you tell us a little bit about your journey, about those 14 years? Tell me, it must be a decent company for you to stay there 14 years. Come on, let's start off.
It's an innovative, progressive company. There's always projects going on that why would you want to step away from something that's constantly moving forward? You know, it's not a business that stays static and kind of gets into, the comfy slippers on or anything like that. Our business is very much about challenging the status quo and pushing the boundaries, and when being told no, kind of going, well, why, and things like that. So I don't really know why you would want to walk away from something that every day is, it's never the 2 days the same, that's for sure. Let's put it that way. So I've been here now for 14 years. My role specifically when I came in, I came from like a business development background, kind of developing customer accounts, spending more time with them, looking at different ways of further supporting them beyond what we were already doing. Very quickly that role became quite large in working with customers, and not just kind of obviously trying to grow that share of the wallet or anything like that, but make sure that what services they were receiving were the right ones, what other services we could be kind of bolting onto that, supporting them with the challenges that they faced in their industry specifically, and just kind of working with them as, and we know this over the last couple of years, how much businesses have changed and had to adapt. But that really does change their business models, and that can change their fleet profiles as a result. Some people have had to reduce their vans to increase their trucks. Some have had to reduce their trucks and increase their vans because of the types of customers that they've now got. So it's really exciting when you kind of work with a company like Pro Hire and that ability to adapt to what the customer needs rather than us saying what we can do and therefore that's what we do. It's very much kind of that approach of listening to them and then seeing how you can take that forward. And then that role started to allow me to spend more time sort of like customer relations that moved into marketing, and making sure that everybody knew what we did as a business beyond our customer base. And then during COVID, obviously, we had a lot more time on our hands because we weren't going out and partying as much. And that enabled me to work with our directors in developing a very specific division of being able to provide alternative fuels to companies. So that's probably it in a nutshell, I think.
So let's go right back. So Pro Hire are commercial vehicle hire, aren't you?
Yeah, so Pro Hire are a national fleet management company that specialise in anything from a van right up through to your tractor units, double deck trailers and everything in between. Where we stand ourselves apart from everybody is we like the challenging fleets, the challenging specs, the away from the typical norms. So any type of industry, any type of equipment, and that's where we pride ourselves on quite unique fleets. But we will support any business, whether they've got one vehicle or they've got thousands of vehicles. Again, it's that ability to adapt with a guy who's got one vehicle through to a business that are running thousands of vehicles across the country at 20 different depots or over into Ireland and stuff like that. And that is literally from the building of the vehicle to supplying it, to maintaining it, and everything else that allows a vehicle to remain legal and compliant on the road, and how we then help support them into the next stage of their future fleet requirements with a strong focus on alternative fuels. As a business, we pride ourselves on being the most trusted and the most sustainable fleet provider. So we need to make sure that our customers and the businesses we work with always have a real understanding of the art of the possible for their next batch of renewals and things. So that's pro hire.
Yeah, so I was going to say, just in relation to what you're just saying about trust and sustainable fleet, and relating it to alternative fuels, what does that mean? So being the alternative fuels division of Progreen, what does that actually mean for you? So what alternative fuels are we looking at then?
Yeah, so I mean, we've got Pro Hire as a business have got over 5,000 vehicles on fleet, supplied, they're our rental vehicles and also the vehicles we supply on contract hire. When we start talking to businesses and our customers about vehicles due to be replaced, we always give them the options of what's available out there in the industry at the moment. So the easy topic of conversation is the one that everybody's talking about, and that's electric. What we find now is very often for a lot of businesses, that's becoming like their BAU, their business as usual now, because they've probably gone already down the route of electric cars and hybrid cars. They've probably already got their electric vans as well. So from what's availability point of view, we will supply anything that is going to allow that company to fully operate. We don't want to supply a vehicle that's an alternative fuel that's going to go sit in a car park because that green tick was done and they tick that box and they're done. We want to supply a vehicle that's a viable solution for them to actually operate at the business model that they've got, but also help them adapt to business models that might change. So electric, big conversation of for the future, hydrogen, or actually closer than we think. We have CNG tractor units on fleet. We have vehicles that run on HVO. We've got hybrids within our fleet, more so on the car side of things as well. So it is pretty much that broad range. And again, specific, when we talk about pro hire, and it's anything from a van up to a tractor unit trailer and anything in between, we've got electric cars, electric vans. We've got our biggest electric vehicle on fleet at the moment is a 27-ton beaver tail. That's been running on our fleet now for nearly, I think it's 2 years this month. So that's been running on our fleet for 2 years. We've got 19-ton electrics already running on our fleet as well. So those vehicles exist and they're in operation, and we've been looking after them now for a number of years. And to that to us is our kind of support mechanism that we can offer is, well, we can do your diesels, but that transition, we can support you with that as well, because we've been doing it for a long time now.
Right, you've got to tell me what a 27-ton beaver tail looks like. I mean, I kind of guess, I'm just sort of guessing what it might look. Is it got a long taily thing?
It's got, so it's basically you've got the chassis and then you've got the massive body that allows allows our customer to transport generators, small machinery as well. This particular company, and I can say it because the vehicle's out on the road, is Speedy Services. So they transport machinery to get it from one site to the next. Now, as a business, they're very focused on sustainability themselves. So to be able to transfer their solar panel generators or their machinery that runs on HVO on their beaver tail 27-ton electric vehicle is a massive, massive achievement for them. So it just allows them to transport that equipment from site to site or back to their depot before it goes back out to site again. So it's also it's operated on HS2 as well. Because they have very strict guidelines on what vehicles they allow on sites.
Blimey. This is amazing. You see, I suppose I didn't realise, I'm not Paul Kirby, so I'm not into electric vans
You
and
know, if you
trucks.
cope with two pools, I mean, God, what's going on?
But this is fantastic.
I think
And
I think we're very good at, as a business, we're very good at working with customers, and again, we pride ourselves on that. To be able, they come to us for that advice and that element of that trusted piece that we're talking about. Um, and you'll be surprised by the kind of projects that work on in the background, and that's not just us, that's our competitors as well. We've all got projects working on in the background, and then the proof is in the pudding when you kind of put it out there. I mean, that particular vehicle's been at four or five different locations working on different contracts. Customers have all got different requirements where they win a new contract, and as part of that contract they have to do deliveries on an alternative fuel. So it's being able to supply them with what they need to allow them to keep doing what they're doing for their customers, because their customers are putting them under pressure. Their customers are demanding that they make changes, and they've got to be seen to be doing everything that they possibly can. And don't get me wrong, that wasn't the easiest project in the world, but now it's plain sailing once we kind of got through a couple of challenges around range, batteries, charging. But now that vehicle, touch wood, is running like a dream.
so come on, tell me, how do you charge a 27-ton truck? What is the? I mean, God, there must be so many things that you need to think about.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to chuck it on a 7 kilowatt overnight, are you? Or are you?
So this particular vehicle, it operates Monday to Friday, Saturday morning, so it has the evenings to charge.
Yeah.
So what they were able to do is two things that we did with that particular customer. So they had at their sustainable site in Milton Keynes, I think it was. So what they did is they had their chargers for their cars and their vans, and then on the other side of the site, where that vehicle would be parked up out of the way of an evening for health and safety reasons, they had a charger installed at that end that was specifically for the HGV side of things. So what that meant was that vehicle could charge overnight, not intrude or impede on anything from a health and safety point of view, didn't get in the way when other people wanted to potentially charge their company vehicles. But what we did do for them as well is work with them in supporting them in a portable solution. So providing a piece of technology that is called juice technology. That's a portable cable, and we offer it as part of our packages. They're actually one of our partners, and it's just literally it's a normal charging cable to look at. You've got the end that you plug into the vehicle, and at the other end you get 5 different connectors that could be a 3-pin plug. It could be a 3-phase 32 amp socket, a 3-phase 16 amp socket, and it is just literally a case of if that vehicle was to go to a customer site and need to charge, they've got that cable that allows them to have that versatile approach in a different connector to plug in to get whatever charge that they possibly can. So again, it's just giving them that flexibility of being able to travel with that. And like I said, it's a charger that goes in a normal bag, but with those connectors to give them the options should they be out and about.
That's brilliant. That kind of, like you say, that ability to give them flexibility in that way.
Yeah,
And
we
to
know that
remain sustainable.
we know that the infrastructure is from the side of things on the trucks. It's not a surprise to anybody that the infrastructure isn't there at the moment. But if those routes are planned out properly, then the depot they can get from one depot to the site and back again, or they could potentially be in that area, stay a couple of hours at one of their other depots, use that connector, plug into their three phase 32 amp, gives them a 22 kilowatt charge. So stays there, has his lunch with his friends at a different depot, pops his charger back in, and off he goes back onto his merry way.
So how many miles is he actually getting per charge then?
That vehicle's doing that vehicle can do about 150 miles.
My God,
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Exactly.
We've got a Hyundai Ioniq, and it's got a 38 kilowatt battery, and the most we've got is about 170 miles. No, sorry, I'm telling a fib. 197 miles, which was when it was nice weather, because So that's really good, isn't it?
I mean, it's amazing what you can do and I've talked about this before with Paul and John and pretty much anybody that'll listen, to be honest. Um, being able to do these things as one person within a business, as a transport manager or a head of fleet or anything like that, that's a really hard task to give them at the same time as running their business. But if you can work with a company like ourselves and like with our partners, where you can sit round a table and talk about what you need and then look at the options of what can be achieved and try to find a balance, actually you'll be surprised by what you can actually achieve. And that vehicle's a prime example. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't plain sailing and there was a lot of nervous emails and phone calls and meetings, but we're 2 years down the line and that vehicle's doing what we hoped it would do, and the customer's not asking to return it, so it must be doing. It's one of those I've never had yet in the time that I've been doing this job. I've never had somebody come back with their alternative fuel vehicle and go, it doesn't work. Nobody's done that yet. More often than not, it works, it does what we need it to do. Let's look at 6 months, or actually no, can I order my next batch now because it's proved its worth.
Yeah. So how many customers are pushing or being pushed to be sustainable currently then?
All of them.
Good,
Everybody,
good thing.
everybody that we have, as far as our client portfolio, any business that we talk to, any seminar, and you'll experience this as well, Liz, any seminars or workshops that you go to, it's the main topic of conversation that people are having. You know, as a business, our customers are under pressure to be more sustainable, have a strong ESG agenda, and be seen to be driving change, which is great because one, it's the right thing to do. But they're under pressure from their customers, their shareholders, their consumers, the board members, society. I mean, I even had, and I've told this story a few times now. I had a customer sit there once and tell me that even his grandson had come from home from school and asked what his granddad was doing to save the planet because he knows his granddad has trucks on his fleet. Everybody's got to be seen to be doing something, so everybody's talking about it. I've not had a company yet that has sit there and not got something on or in the pipeline or have done something around driving down their emissions.
I'm going to be controversial now
Go on.
because so I'm going to ask you a question that I hadn't talked to you about beforehand. So
Oh, no,
talk
thanks.
about drive. No, 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 don't. No, you and I know what there was an announcement from our Prime Minister last week.
Yeah,
Um, so
heard
for
something
those,
about that.
pardon?
I heard something about it.
Yeah, funny that, isn't it? Do you think that announcement is going to make a difference to what everybody's doing? Because surely what you've just said to me is demonstrating the fact that organisations are pushing sustainability, no matter who's pushing what buttons and who's in charge and who's doing what.
I'd like to think that his announcement last week won't have an impact on people's focus.
Good.
I'd like to think that's not going to happen. Some businesses are, and the term I used earlier on, BAU, for a lot of businesses out there now, this is business as usual. When they need to place their next vehicle order, there is a portion of alternative fuels in that as just the new norm for them. There's people that have been taken into businesses specifically to focus on sustainability, ESG, CSR. That's their sole roles. And that's not just on driving down emissions on your vehicles. That's, energy and solar panels and lighting and all of that kind of stuff. I'd like to think that announcement isn't going to make anybody sit back and go, well, I've just clawed myself 5 more years so I can sit back on my laurels. I'd really like to think that the businesses that we deal with, I can't imagine any of them stepping back from this now.
No.
They've made their commitments. A lot of people as well, a lot of businesses out there make very public deadlines. They've made themselves very clear about at what point they're going to be zero emissions or carbon free and things like that. There's a lot of companies out there that have already made those commitments. If they were to do what the government did and take a step back, I mean, I don't know what that would do for their credibility. I try not to get into politics too much, but I know what it's done for his credibility, that announcement last week. I'd like to think that our customers have more about them. And do you know what? I know they've got more about them. They'll carry on doing what they're doing. They won't take a step back on the back of one announcement from one person.
I like that. I like that. That's, yeah, me.
She says with her fingers and everything crossed. It's the right thing to do
No,
at the end
don't.
of the
Why
day.
would anybody? I suppose the only issue that I have is kind of like around investment in the UK. Does that it did demonstrate to me that there's weakness there and there's kind of pressure from certain groups, aren't there, on him to make decisions other than the right decision that we most of us see. But the fact that what you're saying about, kind of the public deadlines and why they would not want their own credibility to be changed or reduced.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes then, really.
I think businesses have put too much time and effort in doing the right thing that, and I'm going to try it. 5 years isn't that long for in a truck world. When you've got a customer that will keep their vehicles for in the truck world 4, 5, 6, 7 years, that only gives them one more cycle life on their vehicles. That's actually not giving them a huge amount of time. So 5 years in the grand scheme of things, don't get me wrong, it might make them look a bit better when it comes to votes and things like that. But I just don't think it's actually that much extra time. I don't think 5 years makes a huge amount of difference for our customers who have to think about fleet profiles and vehicle life changes and things like that. Life cycles of the vehicles has changed as people move into an alternative fuel. And most of our customers are actually asking, can they get out of their they're working with us, and can they get out of their diesel contracts quicker to get into an alternative fuel? I don't see that changing. I have
That's
faith
really
in our guys. I
No,
have
that's
total
good.
faith.
That's good, and I'm so glad. I was hoping you'd say that, to be honest. Because you're the first person I've really talked other than I don't know whether you know. So and people have been watching and listening to this for a while. Know that I'm married to a professor of climate science who works for Reading Uni. So, you know, he was angry. I was angry. I was shouting at the radio at the announcement. I was driving back from Coventry last week, going, "What?" And I was just like,
I was a little bit. I kind of sat there. Somebody mentioned it to me, and I hadn't seen it on the news because I'd been in a meeting all morning when the announcement came out, and somebody had said something to me, and I was like, no. Nobody, no, they wouldn't do that. They couldn't do that. Why would you do that? How can you make such a strong stance and be so strong and committed and all of a sudden start to crumble but apparently we did. But I was at a Women in Cold Chain launch event on Thursday
I
and an
saw that you
award
were there.
and an awards ceremony then on the evening for TCS&D. And out of the people that I met, there wasn't a single person, be it customer, supplier, industry member, that said, oh yeah, great, we just got ourselves a 5-year holiday. Nobody. Totally the opposite. Nobody said to me that was it, that gave them a time out. Nobody did.
That's
So
good.
we're
I did
good.
have a, I did have a conversation with some friends the day after, and one of my friends who was, I've got quite a few people who I know who haven't moved to electrification yet. They haven't got electric vehicles, and this one friend was on his side because she's blue, so that's fine. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of,
Yeah.
But I should have probably watched my mouth. I didn't say anything too kind of out of turn. I didn't think, other than the fact that I was really disappointed. But
Yeah.
it did. We
You weren't
were having a
angry.
spa day. We're having a
You weren't
spa
angry.
day. It kind of changed the dynamic of the spa day a little bit, and I was kind of like,
But
oh, I wish I'd not.
poli- politics does that, unfortunately. I think you should have gone down the line of you weren't angry, you were just really disappointed. And I think, do you know what? There would have been more people disappointed. And I understand. I mean, I'm obviously very much thinking of this from a business point of view.
Yeah.
I've not really massively strongly thought about it for how it impacts on families and things like that. And maybe that's a fault on my part. I'm kind of thinking more about the businesses because that's where you can have the biggest impact on, reducing CO2 emissions and things like that. But, I just really hope that the decisions that have been made and the announcements last week are for the right reasons, but I'd question that.
Me too. Me too. We shall watch this
I
space,
really don't
won't
like
we?
talking about politics, and I'm actually being
No.
really polite because I have very strong opinions that I'm trying to keep PG at the moment.
So no, and I would say I am not if you asked anybody that I know, I am not a political person. I'm really not. But that's kind of made my blood boil. But anyway, let's move away. Let's move away before we start. There'll be some
Yeah,
effing and jeffing
if I
coming
start
on.
preaching.
Tell me. So you were talking about hydrogen earlier, and lots of people talk about hydrogen. There's lots of alternative fuels,
Yeah.
and actually some of the alternative fuels you were talking about, I was kind of like, oh, I don't recognise what that is. But if you, can you just tell me? So what are these alternative fuels, and where do you see? I mean, like I say, hydrogen. Where does that figure in the whole kind of alternative fuels sort of?
Mm. Yeah.
I was going to say malarkey. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I think the one thing to remember is there's so many different industries and businesses out there that one thing is not necessarily going to fit all.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
clear. But
Electric
that also,
isn't right for everybody, is it? So
absolutely, but that also applies within, and again, very much thinking of this from a business fleet point of view. They don't necessarily just run vans; they run vans and 7.5 tonners and 19 tonners, and the tractor units and the trailers and things like that. So, what fits for one part of their fleet, again, isn't going to fit for another. So having something like hydrogen as a future solution is absolutely something that we're very focused on. Our chief executive, Pat, works very closely with a number of companies in driving that hydrogen piece of what can be achieved, but also making sure that we're educating businesses on the now and where we see that being in the future. HVO, which is that hydro-treated vegetable oil that can go into,
yes,
so that can go into, that's a direct drop-in to businesses' vehicles. That is potentially a solution for companies as like a now solution
right.
that, within 2 months they can have a tank installed at site. But it doesn't suit everybody. We've got a customer who runs CNG tractor units, so his compressed natural gas. He runs those vehicles and they work for him, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for another company. And this is where that consultative sit down and that build that trust really comes into play, because all of these technologies are only suited to certain types of vehicles and certain types of fleets and everything like that. And you can't just make the assumption that it will work for everybody.
No.
We've got one customer who transports different gases and different fuels. So actually, they can't use CNG at this time. They can't use when it comes in hydrogen at the moment on their truck side. But on their van side, they're looking at electric vehicles because they can still be doing something. Our customer that uses CNG have got their own infrastructure, and where they're located have the ability to fuel up on CNG. But again, some of our customers, as much as they would like to, don't have the infrastructure support side of things, so we have to look at alternatives. So there's lots of alternative fuel solutions out there, and obviously your LNG and biomethane and all of those kind of things. But it's really sitting down with a business and understanding how they operate, the hours they operate. Do they double shift? Is that vehicle going in, literally reloading and going back out again? But if that's electric, what kind of chargers and infrastructure do you need to consider having? So the time and effort of putting into it at the front end is so important that actually you realise how a vehicle is spec'd is stage 2 or 3. Because you need to understand their business and how they operate, the hours, where from, and everything, before you can then go, that's the solution for you. So,
I really like this consultative approach that you've got. It just seems so kind of proactive. I mean, obviously, the pro green, pro high, proactive.
I'll have to put that one down
There
as
you
a
go.
little. That's what's going on. Proactive with a capital A.
Absolutely, but and that's what you're giving people, isn't it? You're providing them with a proactive solution that you're kind of you're I suppose it's a bit like the stuff I'm doing with improvement. It's actually recognizing, understanding a company, recognizing their challenges, recognizing how they manage them, recognize what they need, what they want, where they want to be in future, isn't it? And kind of actually stepping back and thinking about it and then giving them that kind of proactive solution, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you were to put a vehicle into a company and within 2 weeks the drivers are refusing to use it, it's not fit for purpose, well, that doesn't just reflect badly on us, but that reflects badly on them as a business, that they're trying to drive this change internally, and that's with and trying getting their bosses to buy into it from a mind point of view, mind perspective, and thinking about things differently, a financial perspective as well, and a bit of time and effort to kind of work with us and getting that solution and getting your drivers on board, and then supplying them with something that doesn't work completely puts a halt on what they're going to do in the future because of that one bad experience. So it's so important to try and get it right so they get that first experience as a positive experience that makes people kind of go, actually, do you know what, this is great, what are we doing next? So instead of us as a fleet team trying to sell it back into the business, you've actually got the business coming back to you going, great, now what are you going to do now? That's where you want to be as a head of fleet or a transport manager or whatever role they might play from a transport point of view. Is they don't want to have to be selling it into a business. They want their business to be going, you're doing a great job, let's move it on, let's elevate it, let's get more vehicles, let's look at a different type of vehicle, let's go into the bigger fleets and stuff. That's when you're doing your job well, especially when they then pick up the phone to us and go, right, well done, now we've got to go on to the next project. Then we know that's working.
So like you said right at the beginning about every day being different, you are constantly, sounds like you're constantly kind of being not challenged, but sort of, I suppose it is challenged in a way, isn't it? Right, okay, you're doing a great job, so let's, and this one and that and next, so you're moving people along all the way through their own journeys.
And that's a real mixed bag as well, because we might talk to somebody tomorrow who is literally has no idea where to start, has never done anything like this before, is totally out of their comfort zone and needs help with absolutely everything, doesn't even know what electric vehicles or what manufacturers could I have or anything. But then you've got the guys that have been doing it for 3, 4, 5 years who are a bit like they're further on the journey and they're now challenging the status quo, and their bosses are pushing back going, well, you've got these number of vehicles, how many more can we have, and things like that. And that's the other exciting thing, is everybody's at different stages, everybody's got a slightly different agenda. I remember when I first started working here 14 years ago, still feels like longer. And you'd be speaking to transport managers, warehouse managers, depot managers about their vehicles. When you talk about alternative fuels, you're talking to finance directors, chief executives, health and safety, facilities, sales teams, because sales teams want to know how to sell this on their business opportunities and tenders. Facilities want to know what they need to do for an infrastructure and what we need to support them. Alternative fuel vehicles, health and safety want to know what can their drivers be doing and not be doing, and all of those kind of things. So your audience of people now is bigger than it's ever been, and you're never talking to one person in a business, you're talking to a group of people that again have all got a slightly different angle that they're looking at from this sustainability piece.
Sounds exciting though. It really
Never a
does.
dull moment. I wouldn't have it any other way. Some days are hard and you kind of walk in the door and you go, I don't even know what just happened today, I don't even know what day of the week it is or where I've been and what I've done, but
Who am I?
yeah,
What am I doing here?
it's a satisfying job knowing that you can kind of help companies. Companies have got enough going on in their lives. Day-to-day survival, drivers, vehicle uptime, governments changing legislations and policies and moving the goalposts, and also now you need to save the planet.
Absolutely. Throw that in as well. Flipping heck.
It's hard, but if we can be the people that, I get emails, phone calls, I get WhatsApps, text messages of people going, quick question. That to me, that's a very fulfilling role, to be able to kind of be that person that can, and if I don't know the answers, let me speak to somebody that can, and that's normally on the phone to the manufacturers or my chief or, people like that of, I don't know the answers, but I'll be honest with you, I'll go find them.
Bless
And that
you.
they trust that I might just go do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit. So you also provide driver training as well, don't you?
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
kind of like a whole training element. Do you want to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when you obviously typically what happens is when you supply a diesel vehicle, you'll rock up and it's normally the same as what they've always had, or they might have a bit of a driver training on tail lifts, or the fact that it's mirrorless technology now and things like that. But with alternative fuels, very often you're delivering a piece of equipment that a lot of these drivers won't ever have seen or heard of. If we're doing our jobs properly, we've already started training them in the early stages to think about what they're going to be going into. So when we supply that vehicle and we support them with infrastructure, for example, charging, we'll always supply them with training as well. And on an alternative fuel vehicle, that can be absolutely anything from how to charge a vehicle, so therefore the different types of chargers that you can get and the different kilowatts. The vehicle itself, so if they've always driven a Mercedes and now they're going into a Ford and it's an electric, it's that driver training on the van, the charging, and most importantly, how to get the best out of what they've got. So they've got a van now where their mileage, their range is reduced from their diesel, but how to make the best use out of it. So driver familiarisation, driver behaviour, how to best load the vehicle to again get. When you drive a diesel vehicle, obviously there's a lot of people that load in a certain way, but then there's other businesses that are kind of, well, we just load it up because it's then as quick as it's in the van, we're taking it out the van again. Mm-hmm. But when you come to an alternative fuel vehicle, how you load, how you drive, the weather and everything has such a big impact that we try to help the drivers control as much of that as they possibly can. So yeah, we'll supply them with driver training and all elements. We also support them with training on that 4.25 category. So once you tip into a 4.25 electric vehicle, you have to have what's called AFV training, which is alternative fuel vehicle training, which is by law you have to do. Because that vehicle, and not because it's a 4.25, it's an electric 4.25. So they have to have a half-day training on that, the drivers do. So we support businesses with making sure that if we're giving them a vehicle that's 4.25, that their drivers can actually drive them. So we're supporting with that. The other thing as well, we have telematics fitted to all our vehicles.
Yes.
And what that enables us to do is be connected to the vehicles constantly. Whether we can tell how the drivers are using the vehicles, how the vehicles are being driven, where they are, how much charge they've got, when they're charging, how much power they're onboarding. So, and again, that telematics allows us to understand what we need to do for future replacements. But it also allows us to then go back and look at, again, other areas of training that, again, we can further develop when we look at their kilowatt per mile and stuff like that. Yes. Could they be getting more? Right, let's look at why are they not getting it? Right, okay, well, actually, they're not starting on a full charge each day. The drivers maybe, is there an element even of harsh cornering or braking or acceleration? But that telematics allows us to be really proactive in supporting the customers, which gets really well received as well. When we have customers who might have, they're having challenges charging, we can just literally jump on and actually more often than not, it's not the vehicle's fault, it's actually the charger. Automatically, a lot of people will blame the vehicle. The vehicle won't charge. Actually, the vehicle will charge. The charger won't charge the vehicle. Yeah. So it's being able to train and support them with that live interaction, which is what we're able to do for them.
And I suppose you've also got, you've got drivers experiencing regen for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Oh God, yeah.
I bet that's a bit. I mean, do you know what? I've only been driving an EV now 2 months, and I get so excited with regen. I'm just like, look at that.
I love it when I drop into my green area. Yeah, I love it when I drop into my green area and I feel a little bit smug with myself. And that's the training that we do is, we can do it online like this, or what I prefer to do, and because we're very, in the early days we weren't able to do it and we had to be a bit resourceful in how we trained. Much prefer to go out to site, have a product, have a vehicle with us, spend time going around it, get them to get down on their knees, get underneath, have a really good look at, pop the bonnet, have a look, what's there, what's not there. I take them out in the vehicle. I'll drive and give a few pointers. Then it's right. Come on, pull over. We're swapping over. You're taking us back to depot now, and and then kind of making sure that they can see, taking your foot off that accelerator and seeing what's happening, and then just spend a couple of weeks in the first couple of weeks just monitoring the vehicles on a daily basis, and then a month or two later look at the option of if they like, go back out there and have a bit of a review of what do they think and stuff like that.
Oh,
So,
it's just so exciting, isn't it? All of this, it's just, I know, I can imagine sometimes for people, if it wasn't for companies like you supporting them, it would be really overwhelming. But because of what you're doing, you
do you know
are
what?
you are
It is
helping
hard.
them.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming and it can be really daunting. Just to get,
Know where to start.
firstly, yeah, where do I even start? Right, I'll get a vehicle, I'll have a demo, get me an electric demo. And I always try to be as positive as possible. And absolutely, I will get you an electric demo all day. How are you going to charge it? Oh, I didn't even think of that. Right, get you a portable charger and we'll come and help you. So it's just working with them in that, changing that mindset. Because typically, if somebody went, here's your new Sprinter diesel Sprinter or whatever it might be, and yeah, just give me, I'll have a demo of that. Yeah, get me a demo. When can I have it? Whereas now, it's so many other things to consider before you even get to that stage of having a demo of, you know, where does that demo go? Can't just go to necessarily any site. No point in putting it at the site where the driver does 300 miles a day. Let's put it into a site that's maybe doing smaller journeys.
Yes,
Just
yeah.
again, let's not set anybody up to fail. Let's put it into a site where we know it's going to get used, so we can get that data to go, that's what you do moving forward. Try not to see, you can't change the world overnight. Don't try to. It will be a big disappointment. Don't set yourselves up to fail. Set yourself challenging goals, but don't set yourself up to fail, because that's a really hard one for you to come back from and to have the buzz to want to do more. What we try to do is we try to have a bit of fun with this. It's hard, it's really hard, but let's actually try and make it a little bit enjoyable when you're looking at livery designs or training or getting the drivers to have driver competitions on who's driving their electric vehicle the best, and things like that. Let's create a bit of an excitement and a buzz about it rather than making it feel like it's a chore that I've got to do this.
Yeah, yeah, and actually, I'd say this from an electric vehicle point of view. They are fun. I've never driven an electric van, but they are fun.
They
Electric
are.
is fun, and I'm sure all of the other alternative fuel, vans and trucks and whatever. I'm sure they're quite. It's just different, isn't it? And not everybody likes different. But we do have to get used to it. I mean, look at I always come back to COVID. If we all think about COVID and what we all went through during the pandemic, there's certain things that weren't nice at all. Some of the stuff that was going on, but actually, out the other side, there's been some really good things, and we've learnt about change, haven't we? And I just
Yeah.
think change can. Of course, I love change because of what I do. But yeah.
Yeah. I think based on what the devastating circumstances we've had to all experience over the last couple of years, and yeah, everybody's had to change and everybody's had to do things differently, and that kind of feels like, I think people are a little bit more open to change now than they were maybe 3-4 years ago, which is good, as long as that change is positive, which is why it's so important that consultative element that you and I have spoken about offline is so important, because change has to happen, but we need to make sure that it's a positive change for people. Otherwise, it's not sustainable in itself. Is people just won't do it. People will step back. They've bad experience. They won't want to do it again. Something that happened 10 years ago, people don't let go of. And that one vehicle that we had, it just didn't do its job 5 years ago. Things have changed. Let's try and make it a positive experience for people. That change is good as long as it's positive.
And it sounds like you are giving that positive experience across the board for everything that you
Most days of
do.
the week,
Yeah.
I hope we do. I hope we do as a business. No, I think we do. I think we do. And again, those challenges, those conversations can be hard conversations, with customers, with suppliers. But again, it's sitting down and working it out together. We've had many stressful nights and late emails and frantic phone calls when we don't think something's quite going to plan and stuff like that. But it's just working together, and people haven't done a lot of this stuff before. If it goes smoothly, I'd be more concerned if it ran smoothly, to be honest with you. But we've got to keep pushing on, and I just hope that last week doesn't that give people a thought process of just take my foot off the pedal a little bit.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's
I know.
important actually to just actually, do you know what, make a point, keep doing what you're doing.
I think a lot of businesses are too far forwards, aren't they? You know, maybe the general public see it as, or certain elements of the general public might see it in a different way, but I think businesses are, like you're saying, you know, a lot further forward than people realise. So yeah.
To be honest with you, I think businesses, and again, it's hard because I always go down my business mindset. I don't think even the government realise how well businesses are doing in trying to drive change. I think they're deluded. I think their departments don't necessarily know what the other department's doing, but I don't think they quite realise what's being achieved because they're too busy looking at ways of getting out of things.
Yeah, and like you say,
That's my political
oh
political
no,
approach.
no, I agree. You know, for me, it's clicks and
Yeah,
votes. If that's
I just
all it is.
think just look at the positives of what being achieved and stop trying to find the negatives
Yeah,
and the get outs of stuff. Just have some balls about you and take some accountability, and actually, do you know what, go down in history as somebody who actually had the balls to stand up for something that was the right thing to do, rather than taking a step back and cowering in the corner. Get on with it.
yeah,
It is literally, it's the right thing to do, and so many companies out there want to do it, but they've just got to have the sport to happen.
exactly. I think the biggest thing is for government to stop listening to organisations and sectors that have got this massive influence on them because they don't want to lose their standing where they are currently because they're making billions, and we know that, don't we? But yeah,
We
that,
do, unfortunately.
I'm gonna have to zip it now because I'll be off on one now.
I know, yeah. We're going to have to stop ourselves at this rate.
I know. Tell me, right? So, pro green. Where do you see pro green going in the next 5 years? Obviously, you are off in so many different directions. Where do you want it to be in the next 5 years?
To continue on the path that we're on at the moment,
Hmm.
we've made some great achievements. We couldn't have done it on our own. It's working with customers who are willing to sit down and have those conversations, but it's very much continuing that same direction of increasing the number of alternative fuels, being at the forefront of world first. You know, we've had a number of projects where we've been the world first on temperature controlled electric vehicles that have never been a challenged before and never built before, and we want to continue to be at that what we have, the strap line of being the most sustainable and being the most trusted, but play with the words of leading the charge, being at the front, being the go-to people for support and guidance, and just to keep doing what we're doing. And we're seeing it with our customers now. We made a commitment in 2022 that all of our vehicle renewals or new business opportunities that we got, 10% was going to be of an alternative fuel. 2023, we made that commitment that 30% of all vehicle renewals and new contract wins are going to be an alternative fuel. Each year we're going to keep doing that. Each year we're going to keep growing that, and our commitment, because again, it's the right thing to do, and we see that as the best form of support for our customers. So
I agree. You do an amazing job. So
thank you.
I'm gonna finish by saying, how do people want to, if people want to speak to you about this, because if they're in an organisation, they're wanting to talk to somebody about kind of like, alternative fuel, commercial vehicles, etc. Where's the best place to kind of find you?
So we're all over social media. Pro Hire and myself and my colleagues, we're all on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, Instagram. We have a YouTube video called Pro Hire Truck TV.
Ooh.
We have a podcast about sustainability. That podcast, very much like yourself, we talk to end users, we talk to industry leaders about the projects that they've done and the things that have worked well for them. We're in the process of building our brand new website, which will be going live at the beginning of November, but it's very much social media, and our contact details are on there. Mine are on there, my mobile, my email. Just give us a call and have a chat.
It's
Just
so
have a
nice.
chat. It doesn't cost anything. It's just a chat.
I love this proactivity. Fantastic. So at the moment, is the website prohiregroup.co.uk?
It is, yes. So it's currently under construction at the moment. That goes live at the beginning of November, and when it does, we'll have things like live chats and everything. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We post 4 times a day on different things that we're doing, whether it be news or new technology or a new customer's vehicle's gone on the road, or an employee's at work anniversary, or anything like that, or new uniforms which we had last week. And so so social media, we're very prominent. So, and again, all our details are on there just for people to reach out to us.
Well, I'll make sure that we share all those links in the show notes anyway. But listen,
Amazing.
it's been really lovely talking to you, and it's just, I'm so glad to hear this positive journey that you're on. So even though it's taken us forever to manage to actually have a conversation, it's been brilliant.
It's worth it. I really enjoyed it. I genuinely really enjoyed it. And maybe we can do it again in a couple of months and see how things have changed and what government rules have changed and how we put the world to rights next time.
Well, I think I need to get you to write a blog for us as well. So I shall talk to you about this afterwards. But listen, thank you, Michelle. You've been an absolute star. So on that note, I'm going to say thank you and goodbye to you and goodbye to everybody else. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. You've been watching Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon and you'll receive all of our weekly videos. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.